Okay. Now, I just went and I saw a hell of a film this evening. Oh, I'm sorry. It was this morning. It was this morning. This now is the evening. It's being recorded the day that I saw it. It's Friday, the 25th of March, 2016. I just had the pleasure, the unmitigated pleasure of watching Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice. Now, the embargo on this film, it ended Tuesday. Now, I just said this is Friday. So that means that we've had a little less than a work week to go over what people's thoughts are, right? Now, I have read a lot of shit, but I made sure not to spoil anything for myself. So I stuck to stuff that was kind of vague, that sort of thing. Or if somebody was going to go into plot things, I would stop and then I would just, read something else because I didn't want anything to be ruined for me. Now, that being said, this week has been very, very entertaining because it went from, oh, okay, so this, one or two reviewers don't like it, whatever. Everybody who went said it's amazing. Big deal. I mean, being a Zack Snyder fan, as I am, he's only made one movie that I didn't really care for, and that was 300, and that was just because of the setting. The movie was very well made. It was very well done, and it got the message across that it was trying to get across, and it was faithful to the source material, as I've seen others describe. Like, it's not my story, it's not my time period. I don't really care. But I watched it and I didn't hate the movie. It just was a whole lot of care and time thrown at something that I didn't really too much care about. So, and everything else that he's made, I've been a pretty damn strong fan of. And this movie here, it is no exception, let me tell you. But here's how this is gonna go. I'm gonna go over I'm gonna go over a couple of examples of what makes up, to me, the salt mines of Batman versus Superman. Now, let me go into what I mean when I say the salt mines. I mean, there are people who watched this movie and they came across, in their opinion of it, as being so salty. Just Morton's. Just fucking Morton's salt all over them, like they just bathed in Morton's. That it's just unreasonable, the opinions that I've seen, and every single one that I read, everyone like that was just so salty. And when I use the term salty, I mean just angry without any options, just mad. But like, if somebody were to ask you why you were mad, you wouldn't be able to really answer the question. And that's going to be a recurring theme that you see, more than likely, because these reviewers say shit like, for example, in the movie they say Jeremy Irons is underused, right? First of all, Jeremy Irons plays fucking Alfred. Okay? It's a movie that is a sequel to a Superman movie where Batman is being introduced as a character, and okay, I don't know if that just screwed up, but I'm saying that Batman is being introduced as a character in this universe, and he has to fight Superman because they have idealistic differences. They have problems with each other that are more than you're a dude in my face and you have to get out of it. Like, it's not that level. Like, it's above that level in regards to the thought processes that go into it. And so you take all that and then you complain about not getting enough Alfred. Like, what the fuck? It's like you're like, that is salt. That one example is just the purest, whitest example of salt. Just that pure white crystal salt. Like, it's just, if you're complaining about not getting enough Alfred in your Batman v Superman, like, you don't have a stance. You don't have something to say. You're just saying shit because you mad and you want to say shit. And that's salt. Okay? So, I'm going to start with this reviewer. Let me just put this out there. By the time I get past the end of the first paragraph, you're going to be wondering, why the fuck are you reading this? And the answer to that is very simple, is because this is an example of the shit people are saying. It's just a very, very extreme example. Okay, so let's get started. This is review Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is an unpleasant endurance test by Leslie Coffin. And it starts, usually I don't focus too much on star ratings. Now, I know that she meant to say usually I don't focus too much, but two is not what's fucking written here. Foo is what is fucking written here. So foo is what gets fucking said. Okay, so usually I don't focus too much on star ratings. They're just meant as a shortcut, but this time with Batman v Superman, I was torn. Honestly, 1.5 seems low for a movie I know some big fans are loving, but I gave 2.5 stars to Deadpool, a movie I personally didn't like, but consider better executed than Batman vs Superman, which I will now, I think from this point, I'll probably be calling it BVS. So that's what that means. Okay. She then says, I would have given Age of Ultron a 2, a movie I didn't like but had moments, although way, way too long. And I gave Fantastic Four 1.5 stars, which might even have been a little high. I almost said 1.5 stars with Batman or BVS, but on the train home at 10 p.m. last night, I compared the two. If playing Would You Rather, the reason this movie gets a 1 star is I can see myself someday sitting through Fantastic Four again, probably with friends and a glass of wine, but I will never ever waste my time with BVS again. Now, let me just round this up for you, okay? I've seen BVS. BVS is fucking fantastic. I have not seen Fantastic Four. I haven't. And I won't. But seriously, like, okay, you don't like Age of Ultron. You don't like Deadpool. Why are you watching these movies? Like, why do you even, why? And like, that would be my question for the reviewer. Like, you clearly just don't like these movies. And that's perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with not liking this style of movie or TV show or anything like that. But why the fuck would you go out of your way to write about them? And then I started to notice, well, this person is writing about the same crap that a lot of other people are writing. So there's really no difference. I might as well just go on ahead and read her shit. She continues, I want to make it clear, because I'm hearing a lot of angry fans getting upset. I didn't dislike BVS because it isn't as fun as the Marvel or X-Men universe. I can appreciate a movie attempting to be dark and serious, and there should be room for both kinds of movie. I dislike BVS because it is an unpleasant movie to sit through, lacks any emotional impact, and is clearly written just to kickstart a money-making machine for DC. Okay, I got a little issue with that. Okay? Unpleasant movie to sit through. I'm going to make this very clear for the people within the sound of my voice and within my reach. Here is the problem with the forming of this sentence. And the problem with a lot of reviews that I've read and a lot of reviews that I've seen and watched. Okay? And this is a two-part problem. When you say this is an unpleasant movie to sit through, that is an opinion you are stating as a fact. You son of a bitch, Windows 10. Shut the fuck up about your Java updates. I don't give a shit. Alright. Anywho, it's an opinion being stated as a fact. And at the same time, it's not something that you can prove. And it's not something that has evidence. Like, you're saying it's an unpleasant movie to sit through, but you don't say why. You don't say what you would change to make it make it a pleasant movie. You just call it an unpleasant movie to sit through, and then that's just final. And that's bullshit. Like, you need to explain what the fuck you mean with these sorts of statements. Like, I think that the movie is fucking fantastic. I think it's fantastic. I think it nails what it is trying to do on every fucking level. That's what I think. But that's what I think. You get me? I'm not saying this movie is the best movie ever conceived. Because that's, like, it makes it so that nobody can argue with you, but you're acting like it's a fact. And a lot of people do that shit, and it's really fucked up. If I say something like, I think this is a phenomenal movie, or even if I say this is an excellent and well-made movie, it's because of things that I see that are actually in the movie. And I can point things out that, you know, bring that to the forefront and can really illustrate what I'm talking about, like my overall message. But for people to just say it's an unpleasant movie to sit through and not say shit else on that level and just move on like that's a point, that's not a point. It's not a point. It's a fucking statement, but it's not a point. You know? It says it lacks any emotional impact. I mean, I just totally disagree with that. There are times in this movie that have a ton of emotional impact. You know, the Martha realization, uh, the fucking death of Superman. Like, there's shit in this movie that has emotional impact. I don't even, like, even to me, the visions that Bruce was having, his nightmares, when he would experience his worst fears. Like, there was a vision where he shot people with guns, he broke necks, he got exposed, he saw these aliens come flying down that were, you know, just crazy and ridiculous and powerful, and like he saw like he was unmasked by Superman. Superman killed people next to him. He was powerless to help him. Like, he saw all of this stuff happen, and then he woke up, and people are saying, "Oh, well, Batman is seeing visions of the future." And I'm like, no, Batman just saw what he really, 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 really wants to avoid happening. That was character development through his, you know, worst fears come to life in his dreams. Like, that's the kind of shit Zack Snyder does. And that's the kind of shit your common popcorn movie viewer doesn't fucking understand. You know? And it's like, people see shit like that and then be like, well, that was stupid, that didn't make sense. And I'm like, well, it wasn't. It did. And it had emotional impact. So, what the fuck? And then they're like, it's clearly written just to kickstart a money-making machine for DC. What does that even mean? Was the Avengers written as a money-making machine for Marvel? Because it did. Like, what the fuck? Like, at the end of the Avengers, very little actually changed. It was just a really big war in the streets. So it's not like, shit, Winter Soldier fucked up like the whole paradigm. You know, like that really fucked some shit up. But the Avengers, which made them tons and tons and tons of loot, and fucking, like, it. What I'm saying is that I don't know where they're seeing this desperate writing that they're trying to allude to as money, like connecting that to being a money making machine. I don't fucking understand. Like, that's weird. And then she continues, objectively, this is one of the ugliest movies I've ever seen. What? See, I read this before I saw it. And I couldn't really, like, I couldn't contest that it was ugly because I hadn't seen it, right? I've seen it now. What? This movie is fucking gorgeous. The cinematography is excellent. What the fuck are you even... Okay, we're just gonna move on past that. This is one of the ugly movies I've seen, and I left feeling like I'd just been yelled at by someone I don't know on a bus. Alright, that's how you feel. This is just a poorly made movie, and even fans of DC's characters who are excited to see it should be upset at the way Zack Snyder and his writers, Chris Terrio and David Goyer, wasted a golden opportunity. Wow. Poorly made movie? No. Birdemic is a poorly made movie. That movie is shit. I thoroughly enjoy it though. And that's the problem with a lot of reviewers as well. They don't really understand the difference between a movie they don't like and a bad movie. There's a really big difference between a movie you happen to dislike. Oh, I think it froze up there a little bit. Anywho, what I was saying was there is a distinct difference between a movie that you dislike and a bad movie. Like I said earlier, 300 ain't my jam. But I know it's a good, like a well-made movie. It's an entertaining movie. It's well done. But it's not my cup of tea. You get me? You see how there's a difference? See how logical I'm being? Me not liking a movie doesn't make it bad. Me liking a movie doesn't make it good. Because I can watch Birdemic multiple times in a day. And I would find it just as hilarious the second time as I did the first. Because that shit is bananas. That somebody sat down at a table and was just editing that movie and then leaned back and went, yeah, this is done. That is fucked up. Like, that's fucking amazing to me. Like, I don't know. That shit is crazy. That movie is so bonkers. If you have not seen Birdemic, please do yourself the favor. Birdemic. It's like an epidemic of birds. It's the combination of those two words. Fucking watch that shit. It is crazy. You will understand exactly what I mean. But anywho, back to this bullshit. I'm about to go on the plot here, but I should say first that this movie is incredibly confusing. No, it isn't. As I watched the movie, this statement rung in my ears because a lot of people say this. A lot of people say that this movie is hard to follow, that this movie is all over the place, that this movie is convoluted and all that shit. I followed it perfectly. I knew what was happening. I think that because of my Snyder knowledge and the way that he uses perception to tell stories and to show things from a perspective that's not literal. I think that that's what Zack Snyder's main problem is that he's not literal and a lot of people are dumb. And not dumb in like an offensive way, but dumb in the sense that they've been trained by this media that we have, that they are told what is there. And that's it. When you watch the news, you don't have, like, it's not designed for you to think about it. It's designed for you to accept it. And Zach doesn't really do that. He has a message. And like for what I was going over earlier, his message is Batman is truly afraid of a lot of things that could go wrong here, right now in his life. And he is freaking out about it. And he is having a nightmare. So, in order for me to get this concept to you, I'm not just going to tell you that. I'm going to show you that with no narration. And I'm going to see if you can just pick that up from what I'm telling you. And he did it, and I did. And I picked that up, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is what he's afraid of. This is the world he is afraid of being in. That's why it looks so crazy. That's why it's so unrealistic, him just popping people in the chest with a fucking magnum. Like, well, not a magnum. He was just using assault weapons and like handgun, pistol, that sort of thing. Like, but it's totally not him, and it's totally not the world that he's in, but that's the world he fears if Clark is left unchecked. You know? Pardon me. So it's not confusing. It's not confusing at all. And I don't even know where people get that. But I'm guessing it's got to do with the perception. I mean, people might be taking these dream sequences to be literal and that sort of shit. I didn't. I saw it, as viewpoints in, because see, what people don't really understand is that Batman is fucking crazy. That's what they don't really seem to get, is that he's really fucking crazy. And that means, like, when you're crazy, it's not just some cool shit to say at a party. To be like, oh, well, I'm crazy. And like throwing your shirt around and shit. Like, that's not what it means. Crazy means you look at the world in a different way than other people. When Bruce is afraid of this world, this is the world he sees. He is definitely afraid of being a person that just shoots people down. He's afraid of being a person that cracks necks. He's afraid of being attacked from the skies by shit that's worse than Clark. He's afraid of Clark taking his mask off and revealing for him, like, to him to be powerless. That's why he goes and, like, makes damn certain, like, he puts a plan together, all kinds of shit. But I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. Well, not in a minute, but later. But you get what I'm saying. It's really not confusing at all. I had no problems. Jamila had no problems picking it up. It's not confusing. I don't know what the fuck people's problem is. But she says this movie is incredibly confusing. Not because I didn't pay attention. I took 10 pages of notes to try to keep track of this epic. But a big problem is that things have clearly been edited due to trying to stuff too much into the movie during filming, and it ends up without an incoherent story that doesn't develop characters. Well, I just described how the movie uses an uncommon method for character development. So I don't know. I don't know. And taking 10 pages of notes while watching a movie, like, you're literally not paying attention to the movie. Like, this is not, like, it's a long movie, but it's not a slow movie. Shit is happening. Shit happens throughout the entirety of the movie. You can't be... I couldn't write 10 pages digitally. And I can type pretty fucking well. But I couldn't fucking write 10 pages digitally and pay attention to this movie. Like that, no. Okay, where else am I? Oh yeah. The movie starts, as they love to do, with the death of Bruce Wayne's parents in the most Snyder-esque way. He loves to film people getting shot in slow motion. Then there's some weird stuff with little Bruce Wayne and some bad-looking CGI bats, and then we start with the ending of Man of Steel. Now, here's a problem with this review, okay? The quote-unquote weird stuff with little Bruce Wayne and some quote-unquote bad-looking CGI bats, that was the first dream sequence. And the reason that it was shown is because it's letting us, the viewers, know that the death of his parents, the death of Bruce Wayne's parents, is still, as an old man, very important to him, and it affects his life in what he does. It's character development. It's establishing who he is right out of the gate. This chick doesn't even say that it's a dream. She just says this stuff happens and then we move on to the next scene. And that's not true. He wakes up Every single time there's a dream sequence, they show him waking up from it. So we know it's a dream sequence. Like he's letting us know, okay, this is what is on this person's mind. It's like having an inner monologue with the character, but without words. It is a different form of storytelling. And I think people don't understand that because it's not just in your face, I'm telling you exactly what's there. And that's the problem. People are so irritated because, oh, we have to look at Bruce's parents die again, that we can't even fucking be bothered to realize that it's not about us getting information about his parents dying. It's about us getting information about his mental state, which is very important considering Batman's mental state is the entire, well, no, I'm sorry, not Batman's mental state. Mental states, period, are the entire reason for Batman's entire existence and universe. Every villain in Batman's world of Gotham is based on a mental disorder or suffers from a specific mental disorder that makes them a problem. Batman has a mental disorder that makes him do what he does. Everything in that world is based on that. So I find it to be a stroke of genius for him to fucking let us know, okay, this is what this person is thinking in this way. Make it visceral to us. Make it matter. You know? Like, why would you not do that? It doesn't even... Okay, but, you know, no character development and, you know, the thing just happened and CGI bats, right? Then we start with the... I'm reading now. We start with the ending of Man of Steel. The fight scene that destroyed cities and caused the death of thousands. Oh, and there is one of the most overt, tasteless 9/11 references I've ever seen in a blockbuster, which did not seem to play well in a New York theater. Now, let me fucking get this across now. Okay? New York, I get it. Okay? Buildings came down and it sucked. But that doesn't mean buildings can't come down in works of fiction ever again. You're not that important. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to let you know people still get to make shit up. Okay? People get shot in your city all the time. You don't get to fucking say, well, nobody gets to get shot on Law and Order anymore because we're a little sensitive about that kind of thing. No, you don't get to fucking have that. This is fiction. It is not a tasteless 9/11 reference, okay? It is a superhero fuck battle in the skies that went through the buildings and fucked the buildings up. So the buildings fell down. What do you want them to do? Just float up and go out into space? If they did, you'd sit there and go, that's not realistic. That's bullshit. And then they do it and you're like, well, that's a fucked up 9/11 reference. It's bullshit. They can't win. That is fucking nonsense. And I will not fucking apologize for some shit like no, you don't get to have that. New York believes that New York is the greatest fucking area of land that there has ever been and there ever exists. And whatever, because Chicago thinks the same bullshit. And it's all bullshit. Okay? It is all complete bullshit. And when some shit goes down, you expect for people to coddle you for the rest of your damn lives, and that shit ain't gonna happen. Okay? 9/11 was a fucking tragedy, but buildings can still come down in Superman. Like, that's fucking stupid for a person to sit up and be like, well, this is tasteless. No, it's not fucking tasteless. It's physics, you fucking dolt. So I'm going to keep moving on here. I'm probably only going to go through one more paragraph of this shit because it's fucking stupid. Okay, so it says, now 40-something Batman's mad and Superman seems a tiny bit guilty about the whole thing, but not really that much. You can't fucking gauge that. Whatever. Lex Luthor. She fucking can't spell Luthor. Lex Luthor wants to take down Superman because we aren't really given a reason beyond him being hungry for power. That isn't even the fucking reason. That's not the reason. I don't even think that was ever even brought up as being a reason. This hunger for power. Like, what the fuck are you watching? Are you watching Justice League cartoons? You watching Unlimited? Is that what's going down? Because I don't know what the fuck you talking about. In this, it was not a power hungry thing. In this, it was because he suffered from abuse. And he felt like there was no God to save him. And he needed to prove that Superman was corruptible. And he needed to prove that Superman wasn't all the high and mighty shit that everybody was thinking that he was. Like, it wasn't about power, like building power. It was about breaking him the fuck down as this person, as this figure that everyone wanted for him to be. That was the goal. So you over here talking about some shit that ain't even there. And this your view is talking about shit. Alright. We'll keep reading. I'm pretty sure they were trying to set up another outside threat with Callan Mulvey's Anatoly Nyazev. But I sensed that was just set up. That was, whoa, what the fuck? But I sensed that was just set things up for Justice League. Oh my gosh. What the fuck are these sentences? But I sensed that was just set things up for Okay. Lois Lane's investigation storyline also seems to have been cut down considerably. Poor Amy Adams. Which, no, but let me keep reading. By the way, one of her scenes happens to be the trans misogynistic trying to be a joke of the film, which had no place in this movie, not only because it's awful, but because Lois Lane's investigation is such a fourth tier unnecessary element. The entire scene could have been cut entirely. Trans misogynistic trying to be a joke of the film. I saw this movie this morning, and it is the evening, but I'm really having a hard time figuring out what the fuck they're talking about. I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know what the trans misogynistic trying to be a joke thing is. I'm serious. I have no idea what the fuck she's talking about. I do not know. I don't remember anybody trans in the movie. So I don't know how trans misogyny. I don't fucking know. I don't even understand that shit. But Lois Lane's investigation being a fourth tier unnecessary element. Maybe she doesn't understand that Lois was used to make Superman look like shit. Like, maybe she doesn't really understand that. I mean, I got it. On the first viewing, I got it. But I don't think this person did. Oh well. Yeah, I'll go through this one. And that is the biggest problem this movie has. If Man of Steel is the starting off point and events from that movie cause of this tension, oh my. What the fuck is with these sentences, yo? If Man of Steel is the starting off point and events from that movie cause of this tension between Superman and Batman, comma, why not really focus on that element instead of getting these other underdeveloped stories in the mix, comma, which go nowhere and have no meaningful impact on the characters, question mark. What are you talking about? And she says, instead of letting that tension rumble, what? Instead of letting that tension rumble and letting us really see how Superman / Batman react in the face of the world's corruption. What? How Superman, okay, I guess they just making up a whole plot now. All right. React in the face of the world's corruption. This tension seems like something. Sorry, I had to yawn there. Seems like something yelled at the actors during a lame improv show, and their reaction is completely unmotivated and totally unconvincing. The actors playing our icons aren't very good either. Wow. I know Henry Cavill has some screen appeal. I've seen it in I Capture the Castle. What the fuck is I Capture the Castle? See, people who watch I Capture the Castle need to not watch fucking Superman movies. I'm going out on a limb there and thinking that's probably the case. She says, but in these movies, he's so bad. There's a smugness across his face every single time he arrives from the air. I think Snyder thought it translated to stoic hero. That made me constantly think, I don't like you, and stoic hero is fine, but usually that translates across Cavill's face as just apathetic robot. Ben Affleck is slightly better and given more shades to play, usually angry and childish? Really? Okay. But at least he has some emotional levels and gets to play off of a few more characters until he doesn't, and he just goes flat across the face. Okay. Yep. That's about enough salt from this one, because that was just way too much for me. Like, it's so like it, and that's a big example of like how all this shit is going down, right? This next one is a lot more condensed and short, and yeah. So basically, there's this meme going around talking about, Zack Snyder's getting trashed on, and it's the Kermit frog drinking tea, and then he says it's not even tea, it's your tears mixed with Hennessy, that sort of shit. And I go there and I just say, the salt of people who hating on BVS, yo, it flows in the salt mines of haterdom. And it absolutely, it's so, people are so fucking salty about this movie. I haven't heard a legit complaint yet. I've listened to a lot of shit. I haven't heard a legit complaint yet. People are saying all kinds of shit. I've heard people say that killing Superman this early is bad. I've heard people say just a bunch of just shit that's, it's all opinion. Like, it's all opinion. None of it is backed off with like any type of, well, you could have done this. It's just why, salt. So this dude comes in and says, again, though, if it wasn't deserved, it wouldn't be as funny. Now, he said it's funny because it's true, like before I said, what I said about the salt of the people. And then I said it's not deserved. And then he said, it definitely is, man. You can inbox me if you want to know why, but periodically entertaining does not make a well-written or executed movie. And I'm like, oh, you just said a lot of keywords that you just got from a fucking review. Kind of dumb, but all right. We're just going to go with this and act like he knows what the fuck he's talking about. And so I just say, no, writing and executing it well does, which this is. And then he comes back with, you mean Jesse Eisenberg well? Bubbly, fidgety, I would get my ass kicked at Chuck E. Cheese Luther? You mean the random unexplained things that happened in the movie? You mean the over-acceleration of an entire universe where the fans get to lose out on some pivotal arcs and don't get to enjoy talents like Jeremy Irons or key internal character battles? I'm going to let that sit. Okay. Now my reaction was, Jesse was fine. He was just different. Okay, now I'm going to expand on that a little bit right now. This is not what I wrote, but Jesse was fine because what people don't seem to understand is this is essentially year one Lex. Okay? This is not the same Lex that was in the fucking Justice League cartoon. This is not the same Lex that you would find in the comic book now. That's why in Man of Steel, Superman was kind of fucked up about using his powers and didn't really understand them so well, because it's year one Superman, right? The only character in this whole thing that is like well super established is Batman and everybody around Batman. He is very established. This is not year one Batman. This is, hardened, about to be fucking done with this bullshit Batman. All right, but the rest of them, and I don't think people really understand this, they are in the infancy of their characters. That's why Lex isn't bald until the end of the fucking movie, because he's becoming that guy. But he had to start somewhere. And you know where he started? By fucking scheming his way through this entire fucking movie. He was scheming in the desert to make Superman look bad. He was scheming against Batman for months with the letters. He was scheming against Superman to make him walk into that courtroom and apparently cause that explosion. He was scheming and plotting throughout the entirety of this fucking movie. He schemed and let Batman take files so that he would use the information to rob him of kryptonite so that he would have the tools that he needed in order to kill Superman. The levels of thought this motherfucker practiced for year one Lex, that is bananas level credit. That is insane level credit. And people want to be like, he sucked. No, he did not suck. He was fucking amazing. But, people don't want to give him that credit. It's cool. Let me continue with what I wrote now. I said there were no random unexplained events. Over-acceleration is an opinion based on personal preference. We're not losing anything because this is an original story. The story being told is complete. Example, The Avengers setups are complete, even though we, by your logic, miss out on the stories of Tony being an alcoholic. Jeremy Irons is fine. The story isn't about Alfred, and it still included him plenty. Key internal character battles are only key if what? You like them? What's here is excellently done. It's not what you want. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just not what you want. That's your problem, not the film's. And he reacts to that with, they are key if they should 100% be a part of the character's background and personality. Now, on a side note, I would like to know, why do assholes always make it a point to use 100% when they trying to talk to me? Can anybody answer me that? Why is it that a motherfucker got to be the douche? Like, it's got to be a douche who's sitting up fucking talking about 100%. Why? And they got to use the numbers and everything. Why? That's just a side note. It's just a side note. My response is, the characters are perfectly fine for this story. The background we need to know, we know. Example, I never saw Diana be a master thief on the Justice League animated series, but her being one here is fine for this version of Diana, and it works. This movie is well made. People just made up the movie they wanted and are salty that it isn't that. See, like, and that's another thing. Like, nobody, and I've been listening for it. I've been very specifically listening for it ever since I saw the movie. I'm like, nobody is talking about Diana stealing shit like she's Catwoman. That shit does not happen. She does not do that. If she has to steal something, she's stealing something like Lara Croft, like a fucking relic, and then running out of some shit. She does not fucking steal electronics and then go home and look at them on a laptop and all that shit. That does not happen with Wonder Woman. That is not a Wonder Woman thing to happen. She wants her shit back. She's gonna come fucking punch you in the face until you give it to her. Like, she's that kind of gangster where she'll do some shit like that. But this is just like, it's really fascinating to see that type of Wonder Woman. You know, especially when you see her at the end kicking all this ass. And then you see her, you know, at the beginning, where you're like, she's all, you know, coy, doing this undercover shit, espionage shit, sneaking shit back into your car. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know, I'm not used to that, you know? And so I think it's just because people are salty. Like, you go into this movie, you like, you just got this mental checklist of shit that needs to happen, and then it doesn't, and you just get fucking mad. And that ain't the movie's fault, you know? But anyway, he replies with, I had no preconceived notions of how I wanted this movie to be. I'm not a Batman or Superman fan, so this was completely open for me. Again, if you want my 100% input, inbox me and we can talk about exactly why I feel how I feel. Now, here's an issue that I take up with that statement. They are key if they should 100% be a part of the character's background and personality. Fans get to lose out on some pivotal arcs and don't get to enjoy talent. Like, for a person who isn't a fan, talking about how we're missing out on stories and how vital these fucking arcs are, that doesn't that doesn't vibe well with me. Like, you're either a fan and you give a fuck about these stories, or you're not a fan and why the fuck are you talking to me? You know? And so when this clicks in my brain, I think you may know what's coming. My response is, I'm good. I've explained my reasoning. Thank you for your time. I'm practicing what I preach, ladies and gentlemen. I am doing what I fucking suggested for all of you to fucking do. Because these motherfuckers out here think they can sit up and argue with you in the inbox and they ain't even fans. What the fuck are we inboxing for? And first of all, why the fuck can't you just say what you got to say now in the thread and just put like a spoiler warning up? You know, like I get that could be why he wouldn't want to, but shit, put a fucking spoiler up. I don't want to have to fucking inbox you to talk about some bullshit when I done already clearly and eloquently stated my fucking point. I stated my point. I've said what I had to say, and I've given fucking examples. What have you done? Spewed a whole bunch of bullshit that's just unfounded and doesn't fucking matter. So, you know what? Thank you for your time. I'm gonna go do some other shit. You know? And it does. It feels good. It feels good when you do that. It really does. Because you just say, you know, fuck you. Because you're not bringing nothing. You know, you're not bringing anything to the table in this discussion. So you can go fuck yourself. And that just feels nice. But this is the salt part. Okay, I'm noticing that I'm about to hit the hour mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this. This is going to be part 1, where I have discussed salt. The second part will be where I actually go into what I appreciated about this movie and why I appreciated it. So you can look for that one. I think I'm going to have a good time with it. And I will see you then. Thank you very much for listening and going over this salt with me, because the stuff that they are saying about this movie is just nonsense. And these are only some examples. There's some examples, but the big takeaway message here, okay, is don't listen to reviewers. All right? Don't fucking listen to reviewers. Don't even listen to me as far as opinion goes. Experience these things for yourself and you know, look into them. Like, really look into them. Like, if you're going to look at a game, really look at a game. Watch somebody play it for a while. You know, look at somebody go through something. If it's a movie, watch the movie. You know, and if you can't watch the movie, you can't play or watch the game, that's cool. Just be open about it until you have. Don't be one of these people that just blindly follows reviews. You know, get as much information as you can and just look at shit. Just be like, man, I don't know what the fuck people were talking about. Like, I genuinely had that reaction. I left the theater confused at people. I didn't even leave the theater confused about the movie in any way. There was nothing in that movie that confused me. People are fucking weird and confused the shit out of me. I had no idea what the fuck people were thinking when they were writing what they were writing. So, you know, that's my story. And thank you for listening. I'll catch you next video.